Hi, She Speaks Truth family. My name is Milagros de la Cruz, and I'm so excited for the She Speaks Truth YouTube videos in 2023. So the last time I was on YouTube, I shared the Cut series, a series that impacted the lives of thousands of people. That series was so personal to me. For 2023, the Lord has given me a new series. And so the series is called Healing the Wound. We're going to talk about different topics like identity. We're going to discuss forgiveness. We're going to discuss boundaries. All these topics that are necessary for you to heal the wound. We talked about the cut. Now it's time for us to enter into that new journey of what it is like to heal the wound. So that is what's next for She Speaks Truth ministry. I just want to share a little bit more on where She Speaks Truth came from and who I am. So She Speaks Truth started off first with spoken word poetry. Those who do know me personally know that I have been writing spoken words since I was in 5th grade. I had a poetry unit, and poetry was just an outlet for me. I would spend hours journaling and writing poetry, and it just became a passion of mine. I felt like poetry was a safe space. I grew up with my parents being divorced. My home situation wasn't always picture perfect, actually at times unhealthy. And so spoken word was just like a safe place. And so I was able to express myself without boundaries, without limitations. And when I gave my life to Christ in 8th grade, I was 15 years old. My life changed drastically. I started to write spoken words for Christ. And so that looked like me writing about depression, anxiety, and healing from all those things. And that was the Lord who healed me from those things. And so over time, She Speaks Truth has grown. We first started off with spoken words, and now we have revival services. Those services were so amazing, full of worship. I think sometimes we have this misconception that worship is just meant to be, with a mic and a song. Yes, that can be worship. But through our revival services, we have a witness and experience. There's different forms of worship. We have seen live art. We have seen spoken word poetry. We have seen rap. We've seen dance. And so in this new year, I know that the Lord is going to continue to use She Speaks Truth ministry to help other youth. I thank God for just the growth that this ministry has had. So excited for the Healing the Wound series. So I do have a task for you. I don't know if you're here from a She Speaks Truth letter, or if you've been following She Speaks Truth for years, or if you're just a close friend of mine and you are trying to show your support. Please comment down below on this video. What are some questions that you have about healing the wound? What does that look like? And so I'm so excited because we're going to tackle on so many different areas that are very important for us to discuss when it comes to healing from, let's say, a heartbreak, a loss. So if you're struggling mentally, how do you heal from those wounds? The Holy Spirit is in the midst of all these ideas, and so much more is coming for She Speaks Truth. And so I did get a few questions on Instagram from a few of you. I'm excited to answer some of those questions with you today. So the first question is, how did She Speaks Truth begin? So She Speaks Truth was a name that was given to me through a prophecy years ago. And so I remember writing it down in a journal and telling the Lord, that is going to be the name of the ministry. What do you want it to be? And so through time, the Lord just continued to confirm what She Speaks Truth was meant to be. She Speaks Truth is more than just a mental health group chat. It's more than just a spoken word. It's more than just a revival service. She Speaks Truth is meant to help a community, and a community that is lacking in knowing that they have power in speaking truth. And so we're going to continue to inspire people to speak truth over their life, over their circumstance, and this ministry is just going to continue to grow. And so I hope that tells you a little bit about what is She Speaks Truth. Another question that I received was, what are some steps or advice I can give to people who want to start poetry? And so make sure you have a journal and a pen and no distraction. Find a safe place for you to write. And so what that would look like for me is being in my room, no TV on, no phone, and just some music playing. And I just would journal at first. Journal, and then after that, I would start writing spoken words and try to see what metaphors I can connect to what I was writing about. And so that's just some advice I would give. Sometimes we get a little bit distracted from our surroundings. And so I would make sure you have no distractions. You have a testimony. And so I hope that this channel inspires you to speak truth on it. Another question I have is to share a little bit about myself. So I am 23 years old. I am currently a graduate student. I graduated with my bachelor's in communications marketing in 2022. And so I went straight for my master's. So my master's program is higher education leadership. And so the goal is to one day to have a She Speaks Truth scholarship. As I mentioned, She Speaks Truth is more than just spoken words, more than a service. This ministry is growing. And so the goal that I have is to one day start a scholarship program for, the She Speaks Truth families, that are following us, and a scholar will help other young people go to school. I know the difficulty of what it is like to struggle to pay for college. And so I want to have a scholarship that's going to help other youth. So that's a little bit about my career. I am a mental health advocate. I constantly want to inspire other people to just stay strong, for you to recognize the fact that you are not alone. Sometimes when we go through a situation in our life or a terrible circumstance, we make this assumption that, oh, I'm the only one going through it, or no one's ever gonna understand me. I know, I've been there. But I want this channel to remind you that you aren't alone. I've been in situations as well where I've questioned, where I've doubted, where I've suffered, where I've cried out to the Lord on my knees, Lord, heal me. I've been there. And so in this YouTube channel, I want us to be able to welcome each other with, open arms. Through the platforms that the Lord has given me, I want to continue to be a mental health advocate. First time I ever started to work on spoken word was, I feel like, the beginning of She Speaks Truth. I made the decision to write about so many different things I was going through at the time. My brothers were, in drugs. My sister was a teen mom. And so when I was growing up, I felt like I needed an outlet. And so my outlet was spoken word. And I think that was the beginning of the journey starting for She Speaks Truth. Advice on those who are going through a breakup. So as I mentioned, we're going to have our Healing the Wound series. So we'll go more in depth in that over the next couple weeks. But some quick advice is, number one, cut all connection. That is the one way that you will be able to heal. Because if you continue to remain connected to that person, you're going to want to reach out to that person. You're going to want to know answers. You're going to want to know closure. And so my first advice is to cut all connection, whether that's blocking them, deleting their number, making sure you're not going out to see that person. Please cut all connection. Number two, do some self-reflection. Sometime when we go through a breakup, we make this statement and we say, I'm not the problem. I wasn't the problem. He cheated on me. It was because of him. I'm not the problem. And so I am not disregarding what you went through. I know that what you went through was dark and you did not deserve that. But what I will share with you is that when you self-reflect and see what you also did wrong, you will grow. And that's where maturity comes in. When you're able to look at a situation and say, I was also toxic. So that is some advice I have for you. So cut all connection and please do some self-reflection. We'll go more in depth later on in the next couple weeks on what are the other steps you should take when you're going through a breakup. So that is all I have for you, She Speaks Truth family. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please continue to share She Speaks Truth with other family members. So excited for the Healing the Wound series. Make sure you subscribe, and I'm so excited to hear from all of you. Comment down below and stay tuned for Healing the Wound series episode 1 that will drop next week.